Alright, so I just wanted to record something to explain like the little details of original Nintendo complete in-box game collecting, because there's a lot of differences that people often don't see or just don't know of that are very important to keep in mind when collecting original Nintendo games. Okay, so the oldest ones that you'll see, let's take this out here, are sticker seal games. You can see this one has the residue of the original sticker, and apparently there was some other sticker put on sometime in the past. But you can see the residue of the original sticker. The first two runs of all Nintendo games were sticker seal. First they were gloss seal, and then the second run they were matte seal. These games will also all have the punch tab intact, the hang tab. These games don't have the seal of quality on the back, and they will all have the round seal of quality. None of them will say Revision A, and they will not say trademark next to Nintendo Entertainment System. When you open one of these games up, always be careful opening up one of these games as to not damage the punch tab on the back. The cartridges will have 5 screws on the back, will not say Revision A, and will have a circle seal. It's also worth mentioning that all first-party Nintendo games will have a Nintendo branded sleeve. All boxed games should also have a block of styrofoam on the bottom and should come with a manual. This one's manual is in here. I don't want to get it out right now. But that's how all of these games should look. They should have the box, the manual, the styrofoam, the cartridge, and the sleeve at least. I think probably anywhere from 90 to 100% of games came with a poster originally, but those are either just too hard to track down or they get lost. So I don't have posters for all of my games. But okay, so those are the oldest that you'll see. Then you'll see things like this. This is not a sticker seal, as you can see. There's no sticker residue. There is no sticker left over. This is when they started using cellophane. But this is still a hang tab game. This is also, I pulled this one out because you can see that these hang tabs get damaged a lot. They're really fragile. They get punched out. Sometimes they would even get used at the storefront. I don't see that happen very often. But this is also an example of another thing where these hang tabs will cause these weak points in the cardboard that can easily rip the top flat, as you can see happening right here. These games will have the Nintendo seal on the back, and they will be no Revision A circle seal. All hang tab games are 5 screw. The Revision A that is seen on a very significant amount of games right here, that is what indicates that the game has a 3 screw cartridge instead of a 5 screw cartridge. So that is just a couple other things to note. Let's talk about the difference between seals. So here I have 2 different copies of The Legend of Zelda. They both have this one has a circle seal, this one has the oval seal, which they introduced, I believe, in 88, 89. These are both 3 screw cartridges, so they both have Revision A on them. So the only difference between these is the seals. They're the same game. The manuals will also reflect the different seal types. But other than that, they are identical games. They're just different print runs, one of them being after Nintendo changed their seal. Here's another game. This is a game that you'll find a lot of times as one or the other. A lot of late release games will only be released under the oval seal. So things like Super Mario Bros. 3, you'll never see a circle seal Super Mario Bros. 3. But I did want to show you, here is another manual for Super Mario Bros. 2. This one belonging to the oval seal copy has the oval seal in the manual. This one, on the other hand, has the circle seal in the manual. So that's just another thing to pay attention to. You'll never find any mentioning of revision A inside of a manual, if I remember correctly. So there's no need to find a 5-screw manual. Just 3-screw. One way to confirm the legitimacy of these boxes is that sometimes the cardboard will fray like this on the inside edge of the front flap. That's just one way that I know that the cardboard is legit. Also, if it's white on the inside, that is a big red flag. That is clearly a reproduction. These games should not be white on the inside. Some third-party games are also Hangtabs. These are only very early releases in like 1986 and 87. As you can see, Gradius is an 86 game. So it is possible to find Hangtab 5-screw like Gradius and Castlevania and whatnot. I will also, just so you know, these cases, these plastic ones, these are not original. These are aftermarket things, and you can buy them today. Another thing that is sometimes included is the plastic baggie that all cartridges came in. This game was clearly kept in like pristine condition, and they even kept the plastic bag. So I'll show you what that looks like. Here's an example of a solid black sleeve. All third-party games, no matter what, should have a black sleeve like this. And it will come in a little baggie. Oftentimes the baggie will have a punch hole in the middle. Doesn't look like this one does, but sometimes it'll have a punch hole right in the middle to let air in. I can also show you that this is a game that was printed in both circle and oval seal. And this one matches, which is what you want to see. There's no such thing as a non-revision A oval seal game, because by the time that they changed to the oval seal, they had stopped making 5-screw cartridges, so you'll never see that. So, I'm not sure whether or not the baggie is supposed to go, or the sleeve is supposed to go in the baggie or around the baggie, but it seems convenient to do it this way, so that's what I'll do. I'll also, actually, hold on, no, I don't think that was an original. I'm going to show you the Styrofoam that you should need. So the Styrofoam is another issue that sometimes you run into. For example, here is a copy of Super Mario Brothers. This is a 5-screw, but it's not a hang tab. You can see that that's just a flat cardboard. This is fairly common. Oh, that's not the right sleeve. Glad I noticed that, so I need to replace this with one that says Nintendo across the side, because this is a first-party release. I don't know why that's like that, but I'll fix that. Okay, so this piece of styrofoam is an authentic original Nintendo piece of styrofoam. This is like tiny little details, but this is a reproduction. As you can see, the original has much larger grains of styrofoam. This one has much smaller. These are the ones that I've been able to find available online. You can sometimes find people selling the original styrofoam. That's usually very expensive though. So I don't usually worry about it. I don't really care if my games have reproduction styrofoam. That's not an issue for me. I should check to see if this manual matches though, because I do know. Yep, okay, so this does match, which is good. I do remember swapping out that manual in the past, so I'm glad that matches. I'll make sure to get a new sleeve for this one. Since I have Super Mario Bros. Out, let's also grab its companion title, Duck Hunt, because sometimes you'll see this game, Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt, in a box. Nintendo never sold this game in a box. It was always sold individually as two distinct titles, or as a pack-in cartridge like this, in which it was just included in a sleeve in the actual like action pack or action set package. It was never included in a box. All boxes that are made for this that say Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt are reproductions that are made to match the same style as the Nintendo Black Box games. So that's just one thing to note. Let's also talk briefly about, we'll get these back out, the Zelda games. The Zelda games were released with gold cartridges, so any copy that has the cutout, this is true for both Zelda 1 and 2, should have a gold cartridge. Then they were re-released under the Classic series along with Punch-Out and Metroid, I believe. And these are gray cartridges. So you can see that this copy of The Adventure of Link has a gray cartridge instead of a gold cartridge because it's a re-release. These are original though. These were done in the 90s, yeah, 1992. Just as like almost like a player's choice version. So that is just one thing to keep in mind, that if you have Zelda, make sure that your cartridge is the right color. I'll also show you really quick that on very late release games, this game was released in 1991. Even later than that, though, they'll have these like reflective Nintendo sleeves that just are a little bit nicer. But these were included with first-party releases only, just with late releases like NES Open Tournament Golf. So that is another thing to keep in mind. I can also show you that some games like this will have the larger Super Nintendo format manual. So this is just going to be a larger manual than you find with other games. Like this is Super Mario Bros. 2, it's just a different shape. These games also oftentimes will have like Nintendo Power advertisements. It's very common to see that. Also, these box protectors, they're not original either. You just have them, so keep the cardboard safe. Okay, let's also talk briefly about unlicensed games. So, let's start with Tengen. I just wanted to bring out this one first. So this is a licensed Tengen game. This is an unlicensed Tengen game. The clearest way to tell the difference between them is that unlicensed Tengen games will not have the Nintendo seal of quality and will usually have this gold border on them. And then they'll say, like, for play on Nintendo Entertainment System. Notice nowhere is there a Nintendo seal of quality. Nowhere is there an actual Nintendo logo. These are very not approved by Nintendo. This, you can see the Nintendo logo is featured prominently on the front. Let's look at the cartridges inside. You can see that this is an actual Nintendo cartridge, whereas on an unlicensed game like this, it is a Tengen cartridge. These black, strange-looking cartridges. These games are also different because they have different manuals. Tengen manuals come in different shapes and sizes, and most Tengen-released games will have this Tengen seal of quality sleeve instead of the plastic Nintendo sleeves. These are paper sleeves. I've also seen some Tengen sleeves that have extra space on the bottom for the Styrofoam. This one, on the other hand, just fits the cartridge and leaves room outside of the sleeve for the Styrofoam. So in that way, these are more similar to the original Nintendo branded sleeves. These boxes are also just slightly wider for whatever reason. It's Styrofoam. So that's the difference. A lot of games were released in both gray cartridge and a black cartridge format. One that I know off the top of my head is Pac-Man. And also Gauntlet. You see the original Gauntlet is released in both formats. So that's just something to keep in mind. Sometimes people will unknowingly put a licensed cartridge in an unlicensed box, or vice versa. They'll put an unlicensed cartridge in a licensed box. Also, there are multiple versions of Pac-Man on Nintendo. There's Tengen gray cartridge, there's Tengen black cartridge, and then there's also Namco Pac-Man. And this, fun fact, this is actually a lot of times when you get like those home arcade emulators, they're actually emulating the Nintendo version of Pac-Man, not the actual arcade version. So that's kind of interesting. I'll also show you this, because this is the only other boxed third-party, or I'm sorry, unlicensed game that I have. This one is Crazy Creatures. Highly recommend this game, by the way. It's by American Video Entertainment, and they have their own sort of strange sleeves, their seal of quality. The cartridges are whatever shape that is. That is what their seals of quality look like. They're also made of paper, as you can see. These cartridges also have Styrofoam at the bottom. The boxes do feel different. This box is much more glossy feeling. The cardboard is a different texture. You can see actually that this is a white kind of cardstock. You can see this is what their instruction manuals will look like. Looks like this was owned by a rental store at one point. That's something you do see a lot, is you'll see stickers on things, and rental shop, whatnot. Like this, that's from a rental shop. I don't know if there's any other stickers on this, but that's just a way that they used to catalog their inventory if they were ever renting something out. It would often have stickers on it. Price tags are also something that you see a lot on Nintendo games. Oftentimes these games were sold in smaller stores where they would just put a price tag directly on the package, or if it was ever resold at like a consignment shop, oftentimes they will have their own stickers from that sort of transaction, which I'll show you shortly. Okay, these are some examples of games that I could find that had stickers on them. This one, of course, was a very good deal, whoever purchased this pre-owned. I usually leave stickers like this on. I think it shows like kind of the history of this copy, which I think is pretty interesting. This copy sold for $5 at one point. So I think that's pretty cool. A lot of times you'll see like KB Toys or like Target stickers on them. This one was actually, this is on the box protector itself. I purchased this from a store, and they just left their sticker on the box protector, which I thought was pretty interesting. Better than putting it on the cardboard, that is. I do want to show you briefly one thing about black box titles. Certain early release black box titles like Wild Gunman and like Popeye, Mario Bros, Balloon Fight, received prints later on. It's usually hard to tell the difference. Like one of these prints, this is a second or first, I can't tell because there's no sticker left over. But this one is a late release printing that was done anywhere from, say, 89 to maybe even 92, 93. You can see the seals don't match. That's okay. These cartridges on just certain black box titles were packaged with circle seal boxes that say Revision A. These are the only other reprinting of these cartridges that was done by Nintendo, and so that is how you know that this is a much later print. They will not have gloss Nintendo sleeves, but they will have mismatched seals, which is okay. These are very small cases that you'll find. Not something that is done with third-party titles. Only a handful of early black box games that were initially released didn't receive prints later on, and then later in the Nintendo's lifetime released again in smaller quantities. They're not sought after or anything. It's just worth noting because they are an exception to the otherwise hard and fast rule that cartridges seals have to match their boxes. It's also interesting that the colors are very slightly different on this original printing and this later printing. I thought that's interesting. And since it's different all over, it's not the result of any fading or anything, it's just how they printed it. I also meant to show you briefly that in other parts of the world, certain copies of games will look significantly different. What I have here is the Spanish version of Duck Hunt. It's in a completely different sized box. This is the PAL seal of quality. You can see it's got a white interior. PAL Nintendo games, I don't believe they ever used an oval seal. They always stuck with the circle seal. They just changed the colors of it slightly. Also, many games by Nintendo were released by Mattel in Canada. I primarily try to focus on getting North American NTSC release games. A lot of times you'll say, or like you'll see, Canadian releases that say jeu de video, which is French for video game, on the box. I try to avoid those, but if you don't mind that, those usually go for a lot cheaper. So the artwork is completely different. Some Asian versions will have a lighter gray cartridge. This cartridge matches with the North American version, at least the color of the plastic does. This will not work on a North American machine. This is a PAL B game. There's two different PAL regions in Europe. PAL A belongs to, I believe, the UK and Italy, and maybe some other countries that I'm unaware of. And PAL B is most continental European nations. But you can just see that these are drastically different. This one even says Spanish version on the bottom, which is pretty interesting. So just something interesting, something of note. So if you ever see something like this, it's not like a bootleg, it's just was released in a different country. It's also worth noting that the manual of this version actually matches the style of the North American logo, which is very, very interesting. Of course, it's printed in a different language, and it has this little corner that designates what PAL region that this game is from. So it's got this pink corner. That's how you know it's a Spanish version PAL B game. That corner also matches this flap right here. So if you ever run across one of these, whether you're from one of these countries or whether you're in the States and you find it just in the wild, or you're looking on eBay and one of them shows up, that's what that is. And these usually go for, in general, less than their North American counterparts. Certain Asian versions I've known go for a lot more because they were printed in much smaller quantities, which is very interesting, I think. That is all I have, basically. So, basically, what you need to focus on when collecting original Nintendo games is look at the seal. Does it say Revision A? If it doesn't say Revision A, the cartridge has to be 5-screw. If it does say Revision A, it has to be 3-screw. If it's a circle seal, it has to have a circle seal cartridge. Unless, like I said, it's a late release black box game like this. There isn't a complete list of games that were released like this. I know for certain off the top of my head that Popeye, Wild Gunman, Balloon Fight, and Mario Brothers were released like that. Not Super Mario Brothers, the arcade Mario Brothers. Make sure that your manuals match seals. Make sure that your sleeves are correct. All first-party games should say Nintendo on them, or on the seals, or on the sleeves. Whereas all third-party games should just have plain black seals, or sleeves. Make sure that you have the Styrofoam at the bottom. All games were released with Styrofoam, except these don't have Styrofoam. So, yeah. It's also worth noting, I did want to mention briefly that many games were released with posters. Most games, I believe, actually were released with posters. I did say that I wouldn't mention posters, but I did want to briefly mention this is an example of a 1989 poster. It's got like the oval seal. You can see it's copyright 89. The earliest ones are ROB posters that say something like the Nintendo game plan, and then they changed it to say like now you're playing with power, which became their slogan later on. Some games are not considered complete unless they have, say, a map or like a letter. I know Mike Tyson's Punch-Out has a letter, which I'll go grab right now just so you can see. Okay, So this copy of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I do believe all copies of Punch-Out featuring Mike Tyson did include the letter. This is what the letter looks like. It's just an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that's been folded. And it just says, like, good luck playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I do believe all copies of Punch-Out featuring Mike Tyson had the letter, most of which you can't find the letter anymore. The letter is something that I consider necessary to make this game complete because all copies came with it. Occasionally a game like Final Fantasy or even The Legend of Zelda will come with maps. Most people want the maps because these people that are collecting these kinds of games, mainly like RPGs, they need to have all the materials that came with it. Final Fantasy actually has an 84-page manual. It's ridiculous. This is a very heavy game. The package is extremely thick, just because of how much is actually included in this game. You can see it's got, I believe, 2 maps, and then that book in the back that is the manual. So usually when you're collecting these sorts of games that require a map, it's considered necessary to have the map for this to be a complete copy. The same is also true with The Legend of Zelda. Some people confuse the manual for the map, but I'll just show you real quick that these are in fact 2 different things, or maybe this one doesn't have a map. Yeah, I don't think it does. Let me grab my other copy. Okay, you can see here's the manual, and then here is the map. This is necessary, in my opinion. Some people may disagree. They might say, oh, you only need the manual. But in my opinion, I think you definitely need the map. You can see this copy also has a poster with it, and it also has a little pamphlet advertising Nintendo Power. This is the incorrect cartridge. You can see this is a 5-screw cartridge, whereas this is a Revision A oval seal game. So that's something that I've been looking for to make this one a more complete set. Also, sometimes you'll see games with a star on the box. I think we have a complete list of games with a star. I don't remember what they mean. I think that they're like promotional something. They're by no means common, but we don't really know what they mean, or at least I don't know. And I have looked, and I have never been able to find a distinctive or a definitive answer as to like what the star means. I just know that certain first-party releases do have a star on them. Okay, so I think that wraps everything up. There's a lot to consider when getting complete in-box Nintendo games, but just how much fun they are to have the boxes, I think makes it worth it to invest just that much more into acquiring these games as they were straight off the store shelves. So hopefully this is helpful and tells you a little bit about what you need to look for if you're looking to get like actual like full set everything matching games. Some people, they don't care, they just want a cartridge. Some people, if you want a box, that's fine. You have the box, doesn't matter if it matches. That's great. If that makes you happy, go for it. I, being a collector, like to have everything matching. So this is all the stuff that I have learned in the past couple years of doing this. This information isn't super like readily available, so this is why I decided to make this video, just talking about everything that goes into complete in-box Nintendo game collecting. So I hope you at least found it useful, if not interesting. So yeah, I probably won't make a video for another very, very long time because I don't do this very often. So, yeah, I won't see you.